Next topic, we will talk about ethical leadership characteristic. What the characteristic of ethical leaders, or what is the trait that ethical leader should have? Start with the first one, justice. Respect others. Ethical leadership should respect their colleagues, their followers as well. Honesty. Humane. Focus on team building. Not just focus on goal, but focus on team building as well. Value-driven decision making. Whenever ethical leaders have to make decisions, they always based on value-driven. What gonna happen next if I make the decision? If I choose this alternative, what is the value that can create or happens in my organization or with my team? Something like that. Encourage initiative. Leadership by example, not just word, not just talk. You cannot come late, but leader come late. That is not okay. That is unethical leadership. If you want they do something, your followers, you should be an example for them. Lead by example. Value awareness, not just outcome awareness, not just output awareness, not just sell volume that you concern. You have to concern what value we can create for society, for our organization. Not tolerance for ethical violations. If ethical leaders found something unethical or found someone break the rules, break some code of conduct about ethical, they not tolerance. They not just ignore. They have to do something. They have to do it right when they found some unethical behavior in their team, in the organization. This is the 10 characteristic of ethical leaders. You can read more about these 10 characteristics in Moodle. And how to be an ethical leader? The first one, you have to define your organization values. You have to know what is the value that your organization focus on. Which one is the highest value in your organization? Maybe people, maybe employee, maybe environment, or something else. You have to know this thing first. And then you have to know your personal values. What is your belief? What is your value? What things you put on the high priority values in your life, in your belief, in your thought. And when you know organization value and your personal value, you can create the right environment for your team and your organization. You are the leader. You can be the one who can create the right environment to create a good ethic environment in your team, in your organization. You have to recognize and deal with ethical dilemmas. We will talk about ethical dilemma later. What is it? And you have to be courage to make the right decision. Sometimes right decision is hard to make decision, but if you have a confidence it's a right thing, you have to have a courage to make that decision. And now we will talk about ethical dilemma. Have you ever heard this word before? We will talk about the word dilemmas first. What is dilemmas? It is a situation in which a difficult choice has to be made between two different things you could do. This is from Cambridge Dictionary. When you have something or some situation that you have to make the decision, that you have to choose the choice, and both choice are very difficult to choose. That is dilemma. In business, you will hear the word ethical dilemma quite often. What is the ethical dilemmas? An ethical dilemma is a complex situation that often involves an apparent mental conflict between moral imperatives in which to obey on would result in transgressing another. This is the meaning of ethical dilemma. You might a little bit confused. What is it? I have an example for you. The first example of ethical dilemmas, such as if you knew that a colleague was about to be fired, but you weren't legally allowed to tell him, how would you choose to act? You will tell your friend, but it's against company policy, or you will keep quiet, but your friend are going to lose the job. What you gonna do? Hard to choose, right? Or another example, your two best friends since elementary school. You be friends since when you was young, and you still friend now. It's both of them are your best friend, Tim and Sarah. They date together, and 1 week later, you found one of your friends, Sarah, kissing another boy. What should you do? Would you tell Tim? But you are friends, both Tim and Sarah. What should you do? If you tell Sarah cheating on Tim, they might have a problem. Sarah might say it, Tim might say it. What you gonna do? This is another example of dilemmas, hard to make decision. Or when you make a purchase in local store and you are giving too much change, are you going to say something or keep quiet? It's very hard to make a decision, right, for someone. If you have a good ethic in your mind, you might do the right thing suddenly without thinking. But for some person, it's very hard to make decision, and this we call ethical dilemma. And last topic today, we will talk about evaluating the ethic of decision. When you have to deal with ethical dilemma, sometimes it's very hard to making a decision. So this is the step will help you to make ethical decision easier. The first step, you have to recognize an ethical issue. This is the first two questions that you might ask yourself when you met the situation about ethical decision making. Could this decision or situation be damaging to someone or to some group? Does this decision involve a choice between a good and bad alternative? Or perhaps between two goods or between two bads? Another question, is this issue about more than what is legal or what is the most efficient? If so, how? Next step, get the fact. You have to gathering as much as facts you can, gathering information. This is some question you might ask yourself. What are the relevant facts of the case? What facts are not known? Can I learn more about the situation? Do I know enough to make a decision? Or you might ask yourself, what individuals and groups have an important stake in the outcome? Are some concerns more important? why. Or you might ask yourself, what are the options for acting? What is your alternative? Have all the relevant persons and groups been consulted? Have I identified creative options? Do I have more alternative? Do I have more options? And next step is about evaluate alternative actions. You have to choose the alternative. You might have to consider in many approach of ethical, such as which option will produce the most good and do the least harm. Which option best respect the rights of all who have at stake. Which option treats people equality. Which option treats people equally or proportionately. Or you ask, and which option best serves the community as a whole, not just some members. Or which option leads me to act as the source of person I want to be. That is some question you have to ask when you choose alternative, when you weigh pro and con about your alternative, your choice. And then you have to make decision and test it. During making decision, you might ask yourself, considering all this approach, which option best address the situation? If I told someone I respect or told a television audience which option I have chosen, what would they say? The easy question you have to ask yourself to making ethical decision or to do an ethical decision making is, if something you are going to do appears on newspaper tomorrow, is it okay with you and with your company? If the answer is yes, it means it's might the right thing. But if answer is no, public cannot know this thing, that choice might not a good choice to choose. And the last one, act and reflect on the outcome. How can my decision be implemented with the greatest care and attention to the concerns of all stakeholders? How did my decision turn out, and what have I learned from this specification situation? This is the process of ethical decision making.